Hello everyone, welcome back to Health Made Simple. If you've watched my earlier videos, you know I managed to reverse my prediabetes. It wasn't magic. It was essentially about moving my body. It was about food choices. It was discipline over time. And I want to emphasize the overtime aspect. But this story isn't about victory. It's about what happens when change never comes. My father has vascular dementia. My mother, the stronger of the two, fractured her spine a couple of months ago and still gets up each day to take care of him and the household. Both are living with the consequences of ignoring diabetes. And just like hypertension or high blood pressure, it's a bit of a silent disease. Untreated, uncontrolled, it could be brutal. Today, I want to talk about prevention, why it's not a 30-day challenge, a fad. It's built one choice at a time for longer periods. And if that sounds difficult, well, good, because it is difficult. It's also, though, possible. Let's talk about what happens when we wait too long and why ignoring can cost you everything, including your health, your relationships, your independence, and it could, in the long run, be very costly. Nowadays, diabetes is often reduced to blood sugar numbers or the A1C numbers and the percentage. But it's real currency. It's time, it's memory, your mobility, and at the end of it all, possibly your dignity. The CDC reports that diabetes is the number one for kidney failure, number one for adult onset blindness, and one of the top causes of non-traumatic amputations in the USA. Yeah, toes, feet, sometimes even legs, just gone. I've listened to my dad talking about his constant feeling of this tingling and sometimes pain down his legs, all because of the poor circulation caused by uncontrolled, unmanaged diabetes. I've taken care of a lot of patients during my hospital days as a nurse, taking care of patients with amputated limbs caused by poorly managed diabetes. But seeing this happening to my own parents is profoundly sad and a bit surreal. Because as a nurse, I know diabetes can be preventable. And add to that, uncontrolled diabetes also doubles your risk of heart disease and increases your chance of dementia by over 60%. Let that sink in for a moment. Recent research shows that individuals with diabetes are at significantly higher risk for both Alzheimer's and vascular dementia. And I've talked about vascular dementia. That's what my dad has. So it's confusion, cognitive decline, inability to complete tasks he once mastered. So when others say, oh, it's just a little sugar problem, I really want to shake them and make them listen that it's really not just a sugar problem. It can have profound effect on your health later on, because there is no such thing as a mild chronic illness when it's ignored. And I've seen it up close. My dad's glucose used to hover in the 300s, his A1C at 10%, and now he has vascular dementia, hearing loss, and neuropathy. The full bingo card. My mom, she's his full-time caregiver. She can barely walk herself. She has chronic arthritis and a fractured spine due to her osteoporosis, and still she's cooking, cleaning, and helping him with his medical appointments. Now, I know it didn't have to be this way, but here we are. I really want to preface by saying that the process of keeping those pesky chronic conditions like diabetes is a lifelong journey. And yes, you do become more skilled at it as you grow older. And that's, I bet, called wisdom, right? So when I was in my late teens, I was overweight and I topped around 140 pounds. And I was very uncomfortable in my body and frankly, in my own skin. So how did I gain that much weight? Well, I worked at Kentucky Fried Chicken for extra money. What teenager wouldn't want to make extra money for activities? I don't have parents who would give me allowance like perhaps the other kids. Well, when I did work at Kentucky Fried Chicken, the meals were free, yay. But the downside is that the food was fried, salty, but overall very convenient because I think our breaks were about 10 minutes and that was just enough time to gobble up your food. Over that 1 year, I worked at KFC. I was overweight and a bit feeling sluggish. And I didn't like how I looked or felt. I'm a teenager, so my looks were really important. So I made a choice, not a grand gesture, just a gym membership. It was awkward. I had no clue what I was doing because I didn't do any high school sports, but I kept showing up to those group classes. My favorite being the spinning classes, where there was one instructor that was so passionate about teaching, and I wanted to come to her class every time she taught. And that has been one of the primary motivation for me to keep attending these classes, whatever the exercise it is. A lot of times, it is the instructors that make the class worth coming. And also the community effect, the other students. We help motivate each other, and there's this really great energy that happens during class and after class. Some people call it the euphoria that happens as a runner. What do you guys think? So these days, I don't feel quite well or not motivated to go to the classes like everyone else. I think about the class and how it makes me feel during and after. And those thoughts make me get out of bed, put on my gym clothes, and make it out the door. And that's what I encourage others do too. So a little bit of background. I grew up as an immigrant in the USA. Money was tight. Options were limited, of course. Breakfast was often boxed cereal, Frosted Flakes, Fruit Loops, whatever was on sale because we were on a tight budget. McDonald's wasn't just fast food, guys. It was a field trip for myself and my siblings. We split a Big Mac 4 ways when we were little. I didn't know what a Happy Meal was until I was an adult. And in hindsight, that scarcity taught me something valuable to this day. How to listen to the hunger and not boredom. And how to stop when satisfied and not when stuffed. Don't get me wrong, I love to snack. But I am mindful of how I feel. But back then, we weren't thinking about metabolic health. Really, these are terms that are getting more popular because of the media. We were just trying to get by. That's why prevention is so hard to sell. It really feels like a privilege, but it shouldn't be. It should feel natural. A healthy habit that takes you through your entire lifetime, not through these bits of cycles, but a lifetime journey to stay healthy as long as possible. And another full transparency, I have elevated LDL cholesterol. It's something that I'm actively addressing with diet, physical activity, and medical monitoring or blood work. But what's interesting is that my 10-year atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease risk is just 1.4%. The optimal is 1.7% or less. This is through the American Heart Association. Now, this is the payoff of decades of choices. It's not perfect by all means, but intentional. It's not about avoiding a diagnosis. It's about avoiding disability and losing your independence. And trust me, there is no difference. As I said, my dad used to be independent and quite stubborn at times, and still is about the stubbornness. And sometimes he confuses what day it is or whether he took his medications, and always asks my mom if he did. Chronic condition, none of this happened overnight. Remember the overtime thing. But day by day, year by year, unmanaged diabetes really affected their physical health and now their mental health. Siblings and myself, we're living with the aftermath, but my parents are really shouldering all the burden. Now let's kind of take a moment to talk about Bryan Johnson. He spends millions of dollars each year to not die. He monitors his bowel movements. He eats very specific calories a day and lives on a schedule no working class person could ever replicate. And yet this is what health media elevates, and that is perfection, obsession, and immortality. But I ask, what about accessibility? What about sustainability, sanity? Most Americans are just trying to pay the rent, care for their families, and maybe squeeze in a walk after dinner. So to stay healthy, you don't need to live like Bryan Johnson. And I can personally vouch for this. You need to learn how to eat, move, and rest with consistency inside your reality. Your life is worth showing up for every day. So this video isn't about guilt. It's really about opening the door for clarity. My parents are living with the consequences I wish they'd never had to face. And I'm telling you this not because I'm perfect, far from it, but because I chose the hard path. I'm better for it. Health is not transformative. It's not a miracle. It's really consistent practice every day, the choices you make. One walk, one meal, one moment of self-respect, self-reflection. Go back and watch my earlier videos on how I reversed prediabetes. It was a long work, about a year. Take one step in your own life, because once the damage sets in, it's hard to reverse, sometimes impossible to undo. But if you start now, whatever your age, you still have time to rewrite the ending, because it is your ending, it's your reality. I hope you found this video informative. If so, subscribe for real health. No gimmicks. I don't sell any supplements or detox teas. So what's one health behavior you're committing to this week? Watch for the next video where we'll talk about strength training for blood sugar control and why muscles matter more than you think. Thanks everyone for watching. Bye-bye.